Hey, welcome back, everyone. I thought I'd mix up kind of what I've been talking about on videos. I really don't want to look at the coronavirus stats and info coming across on social media and the web anymore. Need a bit of a break for that, so I'm just kicking back with a beer right now, and I thought I'd share some thoughts on just some, additional kind of things to look at, that relate to kind of your mental preparedness, not only for a crisis that you might encounter in life, but just kind of in life in general. And I guess, what I wanted to talk about was just, it's something that annoys me about myself, and I try to get better at this because anything that you're annoyed about with other people generally comes back to the fact that you don't like that aspect of whatever it is you don't like in somebody else in yourself. So if you're critical of somebody because they're messy, it's probably the fact that you don't like that you're messy, and so it kind of eats away at you. So just realize that. I mean, I'm just the same as anybody else. I've got my own whole slew of issues, but one of the things that I started this channel with was the intention to help people in whatever way I could. And so I started out, it's kind of a mix of things, whether it's like financial education, some investing ideas, just different ways of looking at themselves in the world. And I think for this video, well, I had a couple topics I was going to cover, but I think what I'm going to do in this video, I'm actually going to talk about why each and every one of us makes an extreme amount of difference in the world. Because I know a lot of people, they feel like they are, they're not really terribly worthy. They feel depressed. They feel like they're not having an impact in the world. They're not fulfilling their potential. And excuse me, and I wanted to just kind of share some thoughts on that. Maybe if you're in that spot, I wanted to kind of share some ideas I've had on that and some things I've shared with other people. I had an earlier video I had produced, it was a couple months ago. There's a video you'll find either on this channel or one of the Zero to Hero channel that I've got. I did a talk on why each and every one of us has an impact on the world, on the entire world, basically every single day that we wake up. Excuse me, I'm just almost getting over this cold, so this is like one of the longest colds I've been on, heading on almost 2 weeks here. But so, a lot of people feel like they are in dead-end jobs, for example. A lot of people don't like their jobs. I think the statistics that I looked at, it's crazy high, and it varies depending on what statistics you look at. I've heard that as high as like 85% of people don't like their job, which is to me just a huge travesty, because a lot of people, everybody wants to feel like they have fulfillment in life. They want to feel like they have a purpose. And it's when you feel fulfilled, feel like you have a purpose, that's when you feel the best about yourself, because that's really what I think at the end of the day, all of us really needs. That's what we're looking for deep down inside, even though we don't really realize it. Sometimes we need that purpose to feel like we are living a fulfilled life. And so I know I had talked with some of my employees in the past about this too, because it affects everybody, no matter where you are. And one of the examples, I think I gave this in the video. I said, if you, actually this, excuse me, apologies for that. I gotta take another swig of beer here. So the way I look at it, no matter what job you have, you change the world each and every day. And even if you don't have a job, you change the world each and every day. Here's how it works. Let's say you are a barista, you're serving up coffee, and regardless of whether you like your job or not, you're having a massive, massive impact on the world, because each and every one of us is connected. I see the world and all of us really from a systems theory and complexity theory standpoint. And if you don't understand what that is, that's okay. I'll explain it in a manner that hopefully you get the concept. It's kind of like the butterfly effect, and you'll see that in a minute. But like if you're serving coffee, every time you serve up a cup of coffee, you change the world. Because when you serve up coffee, you're not just serving up a hot drink or a cold drink. You're serving up, energy. You're serving up, you're giving somebody something that they want. And, whether you do it with a smile or not, it can affect, how somebody feels afterwards. But let's just say you're always happy when you give somebody their cup of coffee, or you're neutral. It doesn't really matter. Pick an emotion. Somebody buys that cup of coffee, they take it with them, they're drinking it with them throughout the day. That coffee does something for them. It might give them energy in the form of caffeine. It might give them a certain level of happiness, peppiness. It kind of starts their morning. And that affects them, even at a small level, in some way as they move through their day. And those people that are drinking the coffee are going off to their different jobs, and they're doing their different stuff in whatever area they work in, right? So they're doing stuff. And if you do it in a positive manner, like you serve up your coffee with a smile and a kind word, that can really pep somebody up at the start of their day. And if you don't give them the kind word and kind of, you make it a little tough on them, then it might start their day off a little bit bad. But either way, it affects them, what you do when you're serving up coffee. They, in turn, they are affected. And you know how it is. Like, if you have a good day, you're like positive and peppy around other people, right? So your happiness becomes infectious, or it spreads to other people. If you're having a bad day, and you're grumpy with people, that spreads to them. Whether or not it affects them positive or negatively is up to them. And I'll talk about this a little bit later too, because no matter how somebody treats us, we are all ultimately in charge of and in control of our reaction to whatever happens in our life, or however somebody treats us. But so the cycle, the butterfly effect starts, for example, when you serve up a cup of coffee that affects somebody in a certain way. They go out into the world, do their thing, interact with other people, interact with clients, interact with other individuals, with their families in some manner. And then those people also get affected by those people who had the cup of coffee, right? And their lives are affected. And this takes some time for these feelings to propagate. But eventually, the emotions that you put into giving somebody a cup of coffee propagate throughout the world, because we're all connected. And eventually, the people we know, it's like the 6 degrees of separation. We are essentially 6 degrees separated from everyone else in the world, anywhere on the planet. And so anything that you do, say, think, it affects not only yourself, it affects other people. And those feelings, those effects flow out throughout the world. And in doing so, you actually help them or hinder them in accomplishing really great things. So, for example, if let's say you're serving up coffee, and you serve it up to a mechanic, and the mechanic's, happy for the day. Like, he's happy, he's fixing vehicles. One of the vehicles that he fixes is an engineer who works at SpaceX. And the engineer, has a great interaction with the mechanic. Engineer's happy, goes to SpaceX, is happy, and, he's happy. And the whole engineering team is a little bit happier because of that. And as a result of that, SpaceX builds their rockets a little bit faster or a little bit better. And that allows us to, from a perspective of humanity, be able to accomplish great things in space. And I know a lot of people say, no, you're taking it too far. That's not possible. What I do doesn't matter. But it does. From a systems theory and complexity theory standpoint, it does. It is the butterfly effect in action. So everything that we do on a daily basis, from the moment we wake up to the moment we go to sleep, affects not only our own personal world, but it affects the entire world, one piece at a time. Now, it doesn't affect the entire world on the same day. Obviously, it takes time to transmit emotions, feelings to other people, right? So you are going to interact with your innermost circle, your family, your coworkers, people you interact with, in the stores, immediately, like the same day, and it's going to affect them immediately. And then it's going to take a little bit, longer for it to flow out to those further levels, but eventually it goes out. And one of the videos I did, I said, you and I, we are each responsible every single day for creating the world around us. So we are all responsible in a small way for all the good things that happen in the world and all the bad things. And, when I tell people that, they kind of throw up their hands and they go, no, 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 no. I'm not responsible for bad stuff like terrorism or crime or drugs or any of that quote unquote bad stuff, right? They want to say that they're not responsible, but in reality, we all are. It's just, the extent to which we are responsible is going to vary, but we still are responsible in a very small way, at least. Because the way we treat other people, when we think about certain topics, when we address certain issues, we're going to talk to people a certain way. We are going to affect them in a certain way, and that is going to affect their whole persona. It's going to affect what their actions, their thoughts, how they treat other people, how they feel about themselves. And so you can say something to somebody that makes them feel like crap, right? And you're going to have a negative effect on them to one extent or another. But if enough people say crappy things to that person can get overwhelmed with negative thoughts, negative emotions, and that in turn can drive them or lead them to destructive behavior. For example, using drugs, right? And that in turn just perpetuates like negative cycles, because the more drugs they use, they've got to get them from somebody, which puts the drug dealer, his or her business starts to go up, the more people that are on drugs, right? And then the drug dealer's business is looking good, and then the drug lord somewhere in the world, their business is booming. So the negative things that we can say to each other can create massive, massive problems. It is the butterfly effect. And most people, when you tell them this, they will absolutely say, I have no responsibility in these negative things that are happening in the world. In my opinion, when I look at things from a systems and complexity standpoint, they are in denial. And I'm also responsible for the bad things in the world from that perspective, from that systems perspective. But I'm also I'm also responsible for, at least partially, and you are too, for all the good things that happen in the world. Now, I can't take credit or very much credit for awesome, wonderful things that happen halfway across the world, but some credit, and so can you. And it might be a minuscule amount of credit you can take for all the good things that happen in this world, but the good things that happen in the world are because of the good people that are doing that, and the people that are good people, they're good because they've been influenced by other people. So it's a butterfly effect, how we are all, the actions that we take, the words that we say, the thoughts that we have every single day, they affect us and they affect other people. And those effects flow through society in this like chain reaction that happens kind of in slow speed across the entire world. So once I explain that to people, I say, well, if you want the world to be different, you can change it. You can change the world. You as an individual can change the world. The way you do that is not primarily by changing other people, by telling them what they need to do. You do that by first changing the way you look at the world, changing the way you talk to yourself, the thoughts that you have in your head, change the way you treat other people, you change the way you act, and then you can influence people. See, there are two ways to affect other people. One is you can tell them to do something differently, or two is you can kind of lead them by example. And we all know that none of us wants to be told what to do. None of us wants to be told that we're wrong. That's why I find it kind of ironic. We see this all over the place, and I'm guilty of this too, is that we always tell each other, well, do this, don't do that. And we do this with our kids when we're raising our kids. And, you remember from your childhood that your parents said, don't do this, do that. And in part, that's done for the vast majority of the time because our parents love us and they've learned the lessons. They want us as children to basically take the fastest path to success possible. They don't want to see us, burn our fingers on the oven and do things that would be harmful to us, either physically or, emotionally down the line. So we just do the best we can. But it's the things that we say and do that people are going to notice. Like when you provide a good example to somebody, you can draw them to your side so much easier than you can when you tell them that they're wrong. So religions they bring a lot of people together. They also divide people very highly. It's the same in politics. Politics, you've got very strong political affiliations, and probably in your country. I know we do in the US. And I don't know if the majority of people on different sides of the political aisle are really outspoken, or it's just the kind of the hardcore zealots in any one corner are so outspoken that they'll yell at the other side and tell them that they're wrong and tell them that they're idiots and they should do something differently. When anybody tells us that our way of looking at the world or looking at religion or looking at life or whatever is wrong, it creates a more difficult path to actually get people on your side, because you are creating resistance. Everybody, when they're told that they're wrong, you put them into a defensive posture. Versus if you lead by example and don't tell somebody that they're wrong, just say, here's some thoughts on things, here's a way of looking at things, you can draw them to your side. But we can change people and we can change the world either way. It's just that when you tell people are wrong, that they need to change, it's a more difficult path to that end than it is saying, here's an example of what we could do. And people actually seeing what could be done. And in that instance, people are led to or drawn to that thing that you're trying to get them to do, or get them to believe in, or get them to see, get them to take action in. I know I'm talking about a couple different subjects here. There are a lot of things that are interconnected, but ultimately, the main point of this is that I just wanted to express that each and every one of us matters immensely. Yeah, and I'll talk about this more in another video that I do at some point, that, even all the people that annoy you and that irritate you, that anger you, that you are disgusted by, whoever they are, whether they are people on the opposite side of the political fence, or people with different religious views, or people who are lazy, people who are addicts, people who are overweight, people are whatever annoys you, irritates you, angers you. Those people actually have incredible value. They have as much value as you do. And sometimes this is one of the funniest things, is that, and when you step back and you look at how people are related and the butterfly effect. So if somebody really irritates you, like they really piss you off because they're lazy, or because they hold a viewpoint that you think is just completely asinine, they affect you. Like if you tell somebody, like, get off your butt and get a job, it irritates you. If you find that irritating, the fact that they're just kind of lazy and they don't have a job, that affects you. And it affects you. How it affects you is ultimately partially in your control and partially not. But when it irritates you, it actually affects your future actions. And so your future actions are therefore determined by what you say to people and what you think about other people. So, if you want better results in yourself and better results in the world, I think it's easier to be kinder to people rather than to judge them harshly. And there's a lot of complexity in the stuff I'm saying. I know, this is the first time you've heard some of the stuff. It might not make sense, but I step back and I view things from a systems theory and complexity theory, and just see how things are connected through a butterfly effect. When you are playing a game of pool or billiards, you're hitting a cue ball around a table of balls, and when the cue ball hits the other balls, they start ricocheting. They ricochet off each other, and they ricochet off the bumpers. They ricochet off a lot of different stuff. They can ricochet off each other onto the bumper and then back onto each other. It's a great example, I think, to kind of illustrate how when we have thoughts about something, or when we say something to someone, or when we take a certain action that affects someone, and even if nobody's around, that action that we take, or that thought that we have, that thing that we say, affects us. And it kind of goes inside of us. We store it in our subconscious, and it affects future patterns that we have, future things that we say, future things that we do, future actions that we take. So we all have an incredible amount of value, and it's so easy for us to not see that. I think it's such a shame because at least in the United States, there's been like a growing rise in suicide, and there's been a growing rise in the rate of depression. And researchers have their ideas as to why this is the case, and I'm sure nobody is going to ever know for sure. And I think the rise of social media is you could point at that and say, well, that's one of the issues, and I certainly think that has a lot to do with it. But ultimately, we aren't taught the basic things like how much of an impact each and every one of us has. If we were taught that, that would help so many people. I know one of the big things that the millennial generation that has come out, one of the great things that has come out from them, they get criticized a lot, is that there was a lot of criticism, probably still is, that they just wanted to find a job that had purpose, or had some big impact. And the millennial generation got a lot of flack for that, and I was also very critical, so I'm not off the hook on that. But when I thought about it, it's like, well, why do they feel like any job that they get doesn't have an impact? It's because we as a society have not told them how they have an impact. I truly believe that no matter what you do, whether you are a barista serving up coffee, whether you are a coal miner getting dirty mining coal, whether you are a mechanic fixing vehicles, or whether you are a rocket scientist building spaceships, you make an incredible impact on the world every single day. And you impact our world in ways that you don't even see. Everything we do, everything we say, every action we take affects the world every single day. And I think if we just thought about it and looked at ourselves that way, looked at others that way, that we can at least begin to break down some of the absolutely stupid barriers that we have put up between us. There's so many rifts that we have created in society that have torn us apart. Inside of any given country, we have so many rifts, political, religious. We have viewpoints that differ on basically any topic that we could have. And it is, to me, I look at it and I go, well, no wonder people feel depressed. They feel alone, because we've divided ourselves up into so many boxes that at the end of the day, we are the last person in a box. Everybody else is in their own box. So no wonder everybody feels lonely. It's hard for people to feel like they're connected, hard to feel like they matter, hard to feel like they make a difference every day in the world. So I just want to leave you guys with that if you have still made it to this point in the video, because we're like 23 minutes in here, so I will applaud any of you who actually make it to the end, that you as an individual, you change the world every single day. Every single day, from the moment you wake up until the moment you go to sleep, you are changing your world. So if you want the world to be a better place, think about it better, take better actions, use better words, and you can help make that change. Anyway, that's it for now. I'll talk to you guys later. Good luck, Godspeed, God bless.